for the ultimate flavor thrill ride. It's the return of smoked brisket. Smoky tender goodness on all your Qdoba favorites. And now you can give it an extra kick with new habanero barbecue brisket. Smoked brisket, only at Qdoba Mexican Eats.
Mike Giuliano, how did the heat between you and Paul Heyman begin, and how much of it was at work?
Yeah, we could be here for a while. You know, and the thing is, and I can't say that I hate Paul Heyman personally. It's nothing like Vince Russo. I would kiss Paul Heyman on the face before I would fucking be in the same room right now with Vince Russo. But the thing, and I mean, Paulie's always had his little tricks. Like, you know, when I quit WCW, he'd call me at my house in Charlotte every month or so, you know, on the pretext of, you know, how are you doing or whatever. But actually, you got them right where you want them. They'll give you anything to come back. Oh, I'm not coming back. I don't like those people that want to work for me. You got it right where you want them. Just keep it up like that. Either he thought everything was always work, but his mind it is, or elsewise he was checking to see. One time he would put his arm around me like this, start walking me to the door. If I were you, I wouldn't take this. He wanted to get me out of there.
With Bomani Jones.
The thing started with me and Paul was the
owner of the New York Knicks. And, you know, he wound up in this thing with Charles Oakley where apparently he told the people to put Charles Oakley out of Madison Square Garden. It turned into a whole thing. Oakley had to get himself arrested in the course of that process. Oakley's been doing interviews. We come to find out that the head of security at Madison Square Garden has been relieved of his duties.
They decided to go in another direction.
Right. That's it. They decided they needed a new vision, right? They needed somebody else to be there. I don't understand how that man did anything to get fired. Who knows what it is that Dolan is going to cook up as the explanation for why it was that man had to get fired. My question for you is, if he fired that man today, and it is 4 o'clock right now, do you think his lawyer will be at the courthouse by the close of business with that lawsuit? Because I feel pretty confident that James Dolan going to get sued for this. I'm not saying he did anything illegal. I'm just saying he going to mess around and get sued for this one. Now, as we speak, Mr. Dolan is on the radio giving his side of things. Now, don't do nothing silly like try to find out where it is. What we're going to do is get all the good stuff and bring it back to you. That way, you get the goodness of me plus the badness of Jim Dolan at the same damn time. No need for you to be out here being adventurous. We going to bring it to you. It's like breakfast in bed. You know what I'm saying? Just lay there. All right? Just lay there. You don't need to go to the bathroom. Just lay there. Stay right there until we get you back all the good stuff. Now, before we get to the good stuff, I would like to briefly discuss this thing about Dolan firing the head of security. And I don't know how many of you guys have ever been fired before, but I have been fired before. I don't know how many of you guys have ever watched somebody get fired, but I feel like most of us have seen somebody get fired. Now, in the office setting in this day and age, many offices take a precaution that I think is a wise one for them to take, which is when somebody gets fired, you don't just get to walk around and go to your desk or nothing like that. Who walks with you when you leave the building after you have been fired? Jay, you know the answer to that one? Who walks with you when you walk out the building? Security. So who walks out with you when you're the head of security and you get fired? Whose job is it to walk security out when security gets fired? I'm very interested in the answer to this question because I can't imagine how furious the head of security had to be. Jim Dolan sent him out here on this thankless mission of kicking out local legend Charles Oakley. And what does he get for his trouble? He appears to have then gotten fired. Would you like to be the guy that had to explain to that dude that he just got fired? Because look, now security got to walk him out. But the issue with security walking you out when you're the head of security is the dude whose job it is to now walk you out is clearly somebody that you're not about to listen to because you were the boss in security and that dude had to listen to you. And if you think Oak wasn't tolerating it when somebody put their hands on him, how do you think the head of security would handle it if a dude tried to put his hand on his shoulder and gently escort that man out of the building?
Hold on, Bob. Bob. What you doing, man? What you doing with that box, Bob?
Right. No, Bob can bring the box. It's all that. Bob, I'm going to tell you right now, man, you better not touch me. Like, look, you can walk with me. I'm going over to my desk. Yeah, it's going to be cool. You stay right there. You stay right there. Ain't nobody putting no hands on the head of security, especially given what we saw from security the other night. Security at Madison Square Garden is not ready for the throwdown. We know that because they sent 6 dudes to come get with Oak, and nobody had a plan. If I know that, then the head of security also knows that. Don't you put your hands on that man while he's getting this stuff. Don't you even think about it. And let me tell you something, too. If that man decide he want to go have some last words with Dolan before he walk out, I bet you let him have some words with Dolan before he walk out. Because I don't think anybody wants to be the one to stop him. There's only one person with any relationship with the Knicks that I feel confident could stop the head of security on his way out if he did not want to be stopped. The problem is Charles Oakley. And y'all apparently don't need his services for anything whatsoever. Your man Michael Kay said that Charles Oakley is not allowed to come to Madison Square Garden under any circumstance. Even if Charles Oakley buys a ticket, he cannot come to Madison Square Garden. They treating Charles Oakley like he passing bad checks. Like they got his face on the cash register now. New York Knicks legend Charles Oakley cannot come in to Madison Square Garden. But the problem that Dolan has is from now on, even if Oak isn't in Madison Square Garden, Oak is in Madison Square Garden because the spirit of Charles Oakley is always in Madison Square Garden. And you know who's going to remind you that the spirit of Charles Oakley is always in Madison Square Garden? Those fans at Madison Square Garden. I was about to say New York Knicks fans, except, oh, no. This transcends the New York Knicks. They had a Charles Oakley chant at Madison Square Garden at the Rangers game. And guess what the Madison Square Garden security tried to do? Find the person who started the Charles Oakley chant and then put that person out of the game. And they went to get that dude out the game. They jumped on their horses to go kick that dude out the game. And what's the only thing that stopped them from kicking that dude out the game? Security. Camera phones. It was a bad look. They ain't one of those videos out there. The camera phones popped out, then all of a sudden, everybody fell back. Which is kind of funny, because it sort of reminds me of, like, basically Madison Square Garden is like, we run our operation just like the real police. So, yeah, you got the Charles Oakley chants at Rangers games. And again, remember, Dolan hasn't done so bad by the Rangers fans. They've been to Stanley Cup Finals. They got lung this. Apparently, somebody, we asked this yesterday, how do Rangers fans feel about Dolan, because Knicks fans hate him so much. And apparently Rangers fans don't give him any credit for it. But that's the big thing. Apparently, when he first got the team, he gave Glenn Sather all that power, and they give it all to him. Like, all the credit goes that way. Poor Jim Dolan. You do something right, and nobody gives you credit for the fact that you did it right.
Saying he's a meddling owner with the Knicks, but they said he's definitely been hands off with the Rangers. Let the Rangers do their thing.
I would also like to know, like, if you have Cablevision, are you satisfied with your service? I think that's a fair question, right? Like, what exactly is it that Jim Dolan is good at? Because I don't feel like running a basketball team could really be that hard. If you're not good at it, just get out the way. That would seem to be the thing that you would do. Because this cat is not good at it, and this cat is really, 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 really bad at the PR game. My man Dan Levitard makes a fascinating point. Charles Oakley is a large, menacing black man. Charles Oakley was at Madison Square Garden as a large, menacing black man, putting his hands on the highest ranking white people, right? After doing that, Charles Oakley has become a bit of a hero. How bad does your PR have to be if the big, menacing black dude is the hero and not a single person has your back? Even the people who believe that Charles Oakley is wrong are not doing so in such a way to have Jim Dolan's back. I have sat up and watched people donate money to some of the scum of the earth only because they perceive somebody to be the menacing black dude. You have the actual menacing black dude here, and everybody's like, nah, I got Oak on this one, bro. I got Oak. Yeah. Oak is giving me far more good memories. I'm going to ride with Oak. That's how bad Jim Dolan is doing it.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
We have sound here of Jim Dolan, and Jim Dolan here answers, is Charles Oakley banned for life from Madison Square Garden?
We reported about a half hour ago that Oakley cannot come into the Garden anymore. What's behind that? Why that decision?
Well, first off, I saw that you're talking about a lifetime ban. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's not necessarily a lifetime ban. But I think the most important thing with that is that we need to keep the Garden a place that's comfortable and safe for everybody who goes there. So anybody who comes to the Garden, whether they've been drinking too much alcohol, they're looking for a fight, they're abusive, disrespectful to the staff and the fans, they're going to be ejected and they're going to be banned. Because everybody has a right to come to that game, to come to those games and enjoy them. And no one has the right to take that away from everybody else. And in this case, that did happen. And so we are going to, put the ban in place, and hopefully, won't be forever.
Okay, so maybe this is what it is, right? Right? Maybe this is what it is, the way he described it. The problem that Dolan has right now, as of this moment, he is saying that the Garden has to be safe for all our fans, if it's a guy being abusive to staff and everything else. I get that. The problem is, at least as far as I can tell, the only person that seemed to feel unsafe is Jim Dolan. Like, do I have that mistaken? Because he's kind of got, like, the way he's painting this is though, like, Oakley is this big giant menace and everybody's so afraid. But the only person that actually seems to be afraid is Dolan, right? So on one level, Dolan says that this is all about, the fact that he came in and the staff and everybody had their problems. The other part of it, though, is the security man, the head of security got fired, and a big part of why the head of security got fired is that Dolan doesn't think that Oakley should have gotten into the arena at all. Like, in the first place, like the second that Oak got to his seat, it became a fireable offense for the director of security. So if you're telling me that the decision that you made was done in large part because Oak got in the first place, it then becomes hard to sell this whole thing about the families and the kids and everything else, because this isn't really about the problem that you have with Oak and the way he interacts with your fans. This problem is with Oak and you. Like, do I have that mistaken? Like, I mean, that is what it appears to be, that the problem is with Oak and you. Anyway, we have more from Jim Dolan. This is him giving the explanation of what happened.
Oakley came to the Garden with an agenda, right? With a mission in mind. And from the moment he stepped into the Garden, I mean the moment he walked through the first set of doors, he began with this behavior. Abusive behavior, disrespectful behavior. Stuff that I don't think you want to say on the radio. Right. You probably get thrown out of here for saying that stuff. And it just accelerated and accelerated and accelerated all the way down to his seats, and then ultimately with a confrontation with security, and eventually ending up with his being ejected and arrested.
I will say this for Dolan, by the way. He doesn't sound like he's lying. Right? Like, I don't have all the answers, and I feel like there are some gaps, but he is not presenting himself as though he is a man who is lying. He does seem to be a man that doesn't have but so many statements, like, to make. Like, I'm still not clear on what has gone on. Now, Dolan did send out witness statements. Yeah. They went and they got the statements from the witnesses to say apparently what did or did not happen when Oakley was there. Also, Dolan gave the story where he told everybody that he did not care about how this went over in the court of public opinion. Yeah, he said that was not his concern, that he did not care how this went over in the court of public opinion. And I'm not saying that Dolan is lying about that. I'm just trying to figure out what you're doing on the radio if you don't care about what people think about you. Because it seems to be pretty clear to me that Dolan does, in fact, care what people think about him. What he doesn't understand is you can't win, Rock. You can't win. Like, at this point, you can come and you can state your case and you can have all the video in the world of Oak wilding out. You can't win, Rock. Nobody's riding with you on this.
It seems to me that this situation was convenient for Dolan, kind of giving him a reason to finally rid himself of Oakley, because we know that these two haven't had the best history. So I believe he's using this as his chance to finally get rid of Oakley, because Oakley's been very vocal about how he feels about the Knicks organization and how they've treated him and how things have gone on with that team.
Yeah, now here's one witness statement from the concierge desk. And the person says, He came in with a bunch of other guys. He was rushing in with a bunch of other guys. A bunch of people were waiting. I was standing by the elevator. Morrow's elevator came. Everybody pushed on Morrow's elevator, and he couldn't get on. He said he could have gotten on that elevator. It was one more person. I told him, you don't want to get on that elevator and be all crowded. I advised him to wait for another elevator. He was annoyed. What's it say? He was annoyed he couldn't get on the elevator because it was full. Nothing else was notable. He was just a tall guy. He didn't look angry, just annoyed that he couldn't get on the elevator. I think he was in a rush to get up to the game. Later there was a video on YouTube or something about Oakley. I said, Oakley. I said, that was Charles Oakley? We knew he was a legend when he came in, but not that he was Charles Oakley. Herb Williams had come through earlier, and we usually let the legends in because if they go through the other side, they get mobbed. So as a courtesy, we let them come in through. Why would you give me that statement, Jim Dolan? Isn't this one of these statements that's supposed to indicate that Oakley was wild in the second he walked in? Why would you give me that statement, Jim Dolan? Because that whole, and correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon, that statement basically said, he tried to get on the elevator and he didn't really like it, but whatever.
Didn't seem upset, just annoyed.
Now, here's the elevator operator. I want to start with saying that afterwards, one of our supervisors, I think his name is Jamie, came and asked me if a person by the name of Oakley came into my elevator. I don't know his name. I can only give a description. By the way, how do you describe Charles Oakley without him being perhaps one of hundreds of other guys who played for the Knicks? I don't know, tall black dude. It could have been Clyde Frazier.
The fact that the other person recognized Herb Williams,
yes,
didn't recognize Oakley.
Well, does Herb still work there? Herb used to work there, so, Anyway, Brent came into the elevator with two people. I always tell him to identify your guests who was coming off. When he came off with his two people, a tall gentleman in a black suit and 4 or 5 other guests came off with him. I said, Brent, who are your two people? He said, these are the two people. I said, the rest of the guests have to come onto the elevator and I would check their tickets. We don't want to put her job in trouble. So he got back on the elevator and the men followed suit. I took them to 6 and told them to walk through section 111. They were going through section 7 or 8 to get to the best of my knowledge. He was with 4 or 5 other men. They knew they weren't supposed to go there because we discussed it as the elevator was going to 3. I go behind them and brought them back on the elevator and brought them to 6. He did not identify to me who was going to suite 200. But from the get-go, he wanted to go through the 3rd floor route. I told him he couldn't do that. I didn't know who he was. I later found out he was an NBA alumni. But even so, I do that with all my guests, unless Mary tells me they're going to suite 200. I take them to where the tickets are. I don't take them through that sensitive area. He knew he wasn't supposed to get off there because I established that when I was traveling. I said, Brett, how much guests do you have? Wow, okay. And he asked 2. I checked the tickets and said, you go to 6. He said, no, I could go through here. The same tall gentleman in the black suit. It wasn't indicated to me that he was going to the suite 200 area, so I was taking him to 6. They were trying to be a little problematic, but I was doing my job and hoping I wasn't dropping people off in the wrong area. I tried to do my job to the best of my ability, of his caliber too. They said it was NBA alumni. I couldn't believe it when I heard it later. If one of you is taking them there, I know they get to where they're going, but if they go on their own, they end up at the 200 suite later. It comes back. What? I thought this was supposed to tell me that Oak was abusing people. How come nobody here is saying that Oak is abusing people? Once again, you telling me this big old black dude is walking through here abusing people and nobody can even give a bogus explanation of what the abuse is? Really? Dolan, what are you doing? And Dolan, could you be... Oh, wow. Dolan's got like the old man glasses on top of his head and he's got a sport coat over a polo shirt which screams out second generation money. Like, yeah, I'm rich, but I'm too lazy to even take my clothes to the cleaners. Tanner, what are they doing?
He came to the Michael K interview with talking points, too.
Yes,
he's reading off a sheet of paper.
Yeah, he has pieces of paper. He can't win, man. By the way, the Right Time is presented by Progressive Insurance. He can't win. And somehow he does not realize that he cannot win, and he's going to do. He would be better off pulling off his guitar and playing one of the songs from his little band.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Kevin Durant is going to play his first game at Oklahoma City on Saturday, since he left to go to the Golden State Warriors. Man, this is going to be so bad, because on one level, right, like, I feel like this is the time for the fans in Oklahoma City, honestly, to show their gratitude to Kevin Durant. They didn't think that he was going to be leaving the last time they saw him. He is the greatest player in the history of that franchise, and the relevance of that franchise, the affection that the people in Oklahoma have for that franchise, if we're going to be honest, has a whole lot to do with Kevin Durant. Like, you can make the argument that their affection for that team is based upon the fact that it's their local team. But if they had to come out there and done all that winning off the rip, you think those people would still be filling that place up like that? You think it'd still be loud like that if they weren't winning off the rip? No. They were winning off the rip because they got a whole bunch of young players who were really, really good. They got them at one time, but the one was Kevin Durant. Like, we all know this. The one was Kevin Durant. It worked out with Russell Westbrook. He's been great, but the one was Kevin Durant. And you would think on one level that would be worth a standing ovation. Anybody get no standing ovation? I don't believe that's going to happen. Those people down there, they are hurt. They believe they had become entitled to having Kevin Durant for their basketball playing lives, and they cannot believe that he did not come back. Right? They are hurt. They are going to boo him. And I do think there's a certain geographic element to this, right? Anthony Slater, he now writes for the Bay Area News Group. He worked at the Daily Oklahoma. Before that, he wrote a really interesting story about just how Durant leaving and how it tied in to some of the interesting elements of the Oklahoman self-esteem and how that dates back to the Dust Bowl and everything else, right? He left out one major tragedy that a certain group of Oklahomans had to suffer from, but that's neither here nor there. The thing about that to me, though, is that when we get into talking about all that and how hurt all the people were and everything, I start thinking about comparing Durant leaving there to LeBron James leaving Miami. Now, Pat Riley still salty about that LeBron thing. I think he has a bit of a respect for the fact that LeBron found a way to make it happen last year, but Pat Riley was salty about LeBron leaving. And so we all had to question, when he played his first game back in Miami, which I believe was a Christmas Day game, what were the Heat going to do, right? Were they going to do something for him? They did a video montage in the middle of the game. There was a standing ovation. LeBron looked to be a little bit choked up, like he was trying not to pay attention to it because, he still got the beef with Pat Riley and everything else. But they wound up getting their emotional moment. Here's the thing about LeBron in Miami, though. Miami is a place that understands relationships of convenience, right? Like this for LeBron, he stopped by Miami to handle some business. He handled some business. He went back on about his business. Nobody ever thought that he was going to leave Miami, but I don't think anybody really took it personally. There were some people, the diehard Heat fans, and they do exist no matter what anybody tells you. There were some people that, they're definitely caught up that they lost their guy or whatever it is, but this is a place that understands relationships of convenience. I feel like in Oklahoma, they had convinced themselves that relationship was built on something just a little bit more solid. And hey, maybe it was, but Durant was like he'd had enough. Those folks right there don't understand this. I got to go somewhere to get it a little bit better thing there. No. They don't. It doesn't go over in that same way with those people. Now, the organization, I feel like, kind of has an obligation to do something for Durant. And I feel like the organization has an obligation to do something for Durant. Because even if the fans don't feel like Durant did them right, the organization has to appreciate that everybody's driving real nice cars in large part because of Kevin Durant. Sam Presti, we talk about that man like he's a genius. The biggest reason we talk about that man like he's a genius is he made the most obvious draft pick in the world, which is after Greg Oden was off the board, take Kevin Durant. I don't feel like it really took a genius to do that, and none of us, I don't care if he took James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Serge Ibaka in a run or not, none of us, I repeat, none of us would think that Sam Presti was anybody's genius if it were not for the presence of Kevin Durant. So they better do something. Oh, we actually have some sound here. Also, Russell Westbrook talking about Kevin Durant coming back.
You care how they respond to Kevin, cheer, boo, whatever?
No, I mean, it's kind of up to them. It's up to them what they want to do. Honestly, obviously Kevin's done a lot for Oklahoma City and our team when he was here, so it's kind of up to them. It doesn't really matter to me one way or another. It's a basketball game. Got to go out and compete.
Are you going to tell them anything?
I don't talk to nobody during the game.
First of all, that was nice of him to call him Kevin. I totally expected to call him dude. Right? I think it's baby steps. It's baby steps there. I do love that. I'll talk to nobody. Do you play to talk to Kevin during the game? You ever seen me talk to anybody during the game, bro? If you ever see me, what makes you think today gonna be any different? We don't play against some dudes 2 times.
If they want to cheer, they want to cheer. It's just a game to me.
Yeah, it's just I come here every day. It ain't no big deal to me. I'm always in the arena, right? Why I gotta act like this is a special occasion? Why? Because Kevin coming back, it's special with Russell Westbrook in the house. That's certainly one way that you wind up looking at this thing if you're them. But, let's be honest here. This is to a degree a contrivance for television. And when I say to a degree it's a contrivance for television, I mean that those of us who have no investment in this would like something dramatic to happen. And by those of us who have no investment in this, I mean me. Right? Like, I would like there to be drama. I would like there to be pettiness. Shannon, you got your hand up. You would also like for there to be pettiness. I have no investment in this whatsoever. Petty works for me. Give me all the petty because I find petty to be entertaining when it costs me nothing. Give me all the petty. For them, I guess it's more serious. But all this petty and this not talking and this booing, all that's going to wear off when the Warriors go up by about 25. Except, guess who'll be on the back end of a back-to-back? The Golden State Warriors. So, like, there's a chance the Thunder could find a way to win this.
You can watch that game, Golden State at Oklahoma City. Coverage starts on ABC at 8:30.
Company man. I mean, we all are, but, well done. Well done. Yeah. I don't think this is going to be a game for very long.
Oh. In which way? As far as with Golden State coming off the back-to-back, you think Oklahoma City...
No, I think Golden State goes smoke them. I think Golden State's going to smoke them because the last 2 times they played, Golden State is smoking. Have you seen anything in their previous 2 games that make you feel like the Thunder going to win this?
You set me up with that one, talking all this back-to-back stuff. Yeah, with all that said, yeah, Golden State's still going to smoke.
Yeah, they still going to smoke. I mean, I'm just saying it's possible. Like, if it does happen, I'm just letting you know that there's a back end of a back-to-back. I'm not telling you to put no money on it, though. Like, maybe it stays competitive, or maybe all the booing stops with 8 minutes left in the second quarter. Why? Because it's hard to do all that booing when your team is out here getting rocked.
Just generally speaking, when a great player comes back, how long does that last as far as the booing and the negative feelings that the fans have?
I mean, it's normally one, unless you're Vince Carter in Toronto, and they kept that up for years. They never let it slide with Vince. Like, I don't think they were booing him every time he had the ball, but it was boos every time. I think that Durant will really get one hard time for them. Maybe it all goes out the window if, say, for somehow the Thunder wind up playing the Warriors in a playoff series, right? And then the Warriors go out there and smoke them in there, and then they get it over with. Like, I do think they're going to get over it. And the reason they're going to get over it is ultimately they love Kevin, man. Like, in the end, they really do love him. Like, I mean, it's not like this is a guy that they had to root for against some reservations or something like that. No, man, he was their guy, and they'll be mad this one time, and then after that, they'll get over it.
Kawhi Leonard, right side 3, knocks down the triple. Quietly, the San Antonio Spurs have the second best record in the NBA and sit within striking distance of the Warriors.
Kawhi Leonard, it just seems he can do everything. He is a two-way player extraordinaire.
This Sunday, they head to Madison Square Garden to face the Knicks. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern on ABC and on ESPN Radio.
The right time with Bomani Jones.
I want to say thank you right fast to Jim Dolan. I understand if you're a Knicks fan, you probably ain't never thought to say thank you to Jim Dolan one day in your life, and I understand that. But Jim Dolan is making your life harder. Jim Dolan stay making my life easier, baby. I just host a talk show. I ain't got to root for that team. What's up, Shannon? Oh, okay. But I don't have to root for the team, right? So all Jim Dolan does is provide me content, and content is always appreciated, especially on a day like this, where ain't nothing really cracking. But anyway, Jim Dolan went on Michael K's show on 98.7 FM in New York City. I can give you the full information now that I'm no longer, like, in theory, competing with the man. Anyway, he had Dolan on there. Dolan showed up, by the way, Shannon, in a sport coat over his Under Armour polo, because that's exactly what Under Armour needs right now. After they made themselves the brand of the Air Trump, now they're the Air Dolans.
Sounds about right.
Air Inheritance, the Air Fredos, right? So anyway, Dolan was up there, and Dolan's been talking about Charles Oakley, and I mean, we've gotten a lot of jokes out of it, but we're going to go to the second clip we got here, and here is Jim Dolan declaring what problems he thinks Charles Oakley has.
I can't explain why I mean, we have videotape, we have, dozens of statements, etc. I'm quite sure that everything that we've given, the press, etc., and this is very, very accurate. So I don't know how to explain it. Maybe he doesn't remember it. To me, I think that Charles has got a problem. I've said this before. We've said it before. We said at one time that he's his own worst problem. He has a problem. People need to sort of understand that he is He has a problem with anger. He's both physically and verbally abusive. He may have a problem with alcohol. We don't know, right? But those behaviors of being physically and verbally abusive are, those are personality problems.
Okay, there are a couple of problems here. One, Dolan keeps talking about all this information they've given to the press that spells out how abusive Charles Oakley was. I've read through the witness statements that they sent out. None of them seem to add up with the story that Dolan is telling. Like, I said something earlier where I said it doesn't sound like Dolan is lying, and somebody said I need to sharpen up. I'm like, no. Here's what you need to understand. I'm not saying that Dolan is telling the truth. I'm saying Dolan doesn't sound like he's lying. That doesn't mean that his story adds up the whole way. What I'm saying is Dolan sounds like he believes every single word that he is saying. Right? So Dolan believes that what he's turned over indicates that Charles Oakley had been so abusive to the staff at Madison Square Garden. The problem is all these statements from the staff and not a single person is describing Charles Oakley as being abusive. Right? Like even the people, like the woman, the elevator operator who said that Oakley seemed to be annoyed. No one said that Oakley was being abusive. Now, one person did say that she heard Oak say that he needed to go see Dolan. I don't know who overheard that and told Dolan, but that seems to be when Dolan talks about how there's people in the crowd, everybody at the Garden needs to be able to watch it and feel safe and not be afraid. Only cat that seemed to be afraid is Dolan, because Dolan thinks that Charles Oakley want to run up on him, which I have to say, kind of thing that would make me afraid. I do have to say this. That being said, I figured Dolan would have enough security around him, but that wouldn't be a concern. You ain't got to deploy security when you're a man like Dolan. You would just be right there, because when Dolan has a suite, the Suite 200, that's his?
He has a suite, but he likes to sit courtside as well.
Yeah, well, that's what they're saying also, is that Oak kept trying to walk by Suite 200. That's what this all comes to. Oak kept trying to walk to Seat 200. Like, reading through all those witness accounts, all of them indicate, well, he kept trying to go over here, but we said you have to go through here. But at the same time, all those people also said that they probably would have let him through where he wanted to go if they'd known he was Charles Oakley. Because they didn't know that he was Charles Oakley. So another problem with this, again, is Dolan wanted to ban Charles Oakley from the arena, even though nobody at the arena knew Charles Oakley when they saw him.
And I'm reading over some of these witness accounts, and the person's description as a supervisor, when asked about Oakley, he said when he got to the bottom of the ramp, he was lucid. To me, he seemed more of a jerk than a drunk.
No, right? And Dolan came out and said that Oakley has a drinking problem. Now, Dolan has had his own substance abuse issues, right? So perhaps he has some level of insight. I do think, however, it is incredibly wrong for him to come out here without any more evidence than what we have here, talking about how Charles Oakley has a drinking problem. Like, I just don't think that's fair. Now, I don't know if he's right or wrong, to be clear. I'm never surprised to find out somebody has a drinking problem, because generally speaking, we only think somebody got a drinking problem when their drink is out there from coming to work or they catch a DUI. Basically, right? Or there's something like tumultuous going on in their home. I have no idea if Oak does or does not have a drinking problem. I also don't feel like it is Jim Dolan's place to do this. And the reason why I don't think it's Jim Dolan's place is Dolan is saying, well, Charles needs to get help. Nothing in the statements that Dolan has made indicate that he actually cares about Charles Oakley. And I say that look, if Oakley was somebody he really cared about and he's saying, look, I feel like he needs help, it would be more in line with me with Darryl Strawberry when he said that about Doc Gooden. I wasn't uncomfortable with him saying all these things about Doc Gooden and addiction, but I did feel comfortable that say that Darryl Strawberry really does want to do something to help Dwight Gooden. And therefore he did it. Like, even if I thought he was wrong for it, and I did think he was wrong for it because I just don't think that's for public consumption, I would feel like, okay, at least Straw is out here trying to help, even if he's doing it wrong. I don't have any reason to believe that Dolan is out here trying to help. Like, I felt like all he was doing was trying to embarrass Oakley. And if you're putting that out there strictly because you want to embarrass Oakley, then I can't ride with you on this. I can't ride with you on that at all, whether he has a drinking problem or not.
The thing that I don't understand with Dolan is that he doesn't even seem interested in entertaining some of the concerns that Oakley has had, or be willing to sit down with him to discuss some of the problems that Oakley may have with him and the organization.
Well, I think they haven't explained once why there are these problems with Oak. So if his thing is that Oak should have never even gotten to his seat, why is there the beef? Because Oak doesn't seem to understand why the beef is there. Why is there the beef? And I wish somebody would tell me the beef, because I feel like the beef involves a very funny story that involves Charles Oakley saying something to Jim Dolan that made Jim Dolan wet his pants. And I would like to know what that is. I also like to know that when Jim Dolan says that Oak is, physically and verbally abusive, I mean, he might be right about this, but we all got to be honest. That's kind of what we love about Oak. We were in here the other day watching that video of Oak when he punked Scottie Pippen and slapped him in the face twice when Scottie Pippen was a rookie. That is bullying behavior. That is abusive behavior. And I enjoyed every single minute of it. I recognize my hypocrisy in this moment. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And really quickly back to Dolan. If he says that he feels as though Oakley needs some help, why doesn't he try to extend the olive branch to try to help him?
Right.
Let's say he needs this help. You know what? I'm going to reach out. And if I feel as though he needs this, and if I've had these problems myself, hey, why not I try to help him with that? If that's what I feel.
Yeah, why are you telling us? Because you could tell Charles Oakley, right? And clearly Charles Oakley wants to talk to you, but he says you hadn't been willing to talk to him in 5 years. So what is it? Because there are all those holes in Dolan's story. But hold on, though. Jim Dolan decided, I've got this controversy where I can't win. Let me start a controversy where I can win. Listen to this.
To the fans that have painted you as a villain or the reason the team is losing, what do you say to those people? What's the message to them?
Ask Phil.
Wow. So what are we supposed to do with that?
Tweet that, homeboy.
Yeah, I know what we're supposed to do with that. We're supposed to find Phil somewhere and be like, hey, yo, Phil, you going to let that man talk to you like that? And Phil's going to be like, look, man, I'm getting real bad reception on this beach in St. Bart's.
Judging by how things work with the Knicks, somebody's going to have to ask Carmelo Anthony about what Dolan said about Phil Jackson.
Yes, that's the worst thing about this is all this is going to be is more questions for Carmelo. That's all it's going to be.
Can we hear that, Dolan, one more time? I'm talking about Phil.
To the fans that have painted you as a villain or the reason the team is losing, what do you say to those people? What's the message to them?
Ask Phil.
But Shannon, he says this in the same interview where he says he will not opt out of Phil Jackson's $12 million a year contract. Right. What? Like, ask Phil what? Like, are you saying the all-court product is Phil's fault?
Also, when we had the whole Phil Jackson, Carmelo thing the last couple weeks, there have been some people clamoring for Dolan to come out and speak on the situation. Maybe that might not be the best thing for the Knicks.
He just did. He just did right there, and he just put it all on Phil Jackson. Although I guess it's a good thing you put that on Phil Jackson. Like Phil Jackson got to talk to no media. As Frank Isola always points out, Phil's always popping a shot off at Carmelo. Carmelo always got to answer for it. Phil Jackson, never anywhere to be found.
Start us out. Set the tone.
Yes, now Jim Dolan was like, okay, I got this fight with Charles Oakley. I can't win this fight with Charles Oakley.
Anybody want to give a shout out to?
Yes, my husband did, my children, my grandchildren, my friends from the reason, and
right? Because if you're going, I'm paying all this money because I want to see these guys actually be good, and this cat's over here dropping the ball. This is a fight that he can win.
Start us out. Set the tone. You're first.
All I got for you is no comment about Melo.
Melo's a special guest referee.
Yeah, Melo's like, yo, I don't know if you knew this, but my middle name, Bennett.
The right time with Bomani Jones.
Washington has a player named Malik Dime. Is he a point guard? Because I feel like if you're a point guard and your last name Dime, that's all that, right? He's 6'9", though, isn't he? I mean, he could be a point guard. They make 6'9" point guards. But anyway, he's missed 9 consecutive games with a broken pinky. And I'm guessing that pinky is on his other hand because he got another hand, and he apparently used that another hand to slap 2 people in the face in the Colorado student section. Yes, that is what happened. No evidence if he asked for any baby powder, but apparently he slapped one dude, and he slapped the first dude so hard that the follow-through had him slap another dude. Yes. That is what happened. Now, to be clear, the Colorado students swear that they didn't do anything other than what they ordinarily do. And so I was on Twitter seeing people who were reporting on it. I'm like, yo, everybody keeps telling me what these cats say they did not say. Can anybody tell me what they did say? And no one could ever give me a real thing about what they did say. And then I looked and saw that the Colorado students are adamant that all they were saying was things like, you got the fakest looking Jordans in 2017, or how bad your barber is, and all that stuff. That is what they said happened. And then they said at some point, our good friend Malik Dime looked at one of them and he said, and I quote, I'm going to come over there and slap the bleep out of you. Yes. So this is according to a student named Dylan, right? Dylan said, Malik looked over at us at one point and said, I'm going to come over there and slap the bleep out of you. We didn't think that was real, so we just laughed. And then at the end of the half, he came over to us and pretended like he was giving me a handshake. And I reached out and he pulled back and slapped me in the face. And the follow through hit the person sitting right next to me, which was Brian. Yes. That is how that went. That is how that went. He said when that man told him that he was going to slap the bleep out of him and he came over to shake his hand, he thought to himself, oh, wow, I guess he's going to shake my hand. No, actually, he was going to slap the bleep out of you, as he said that he was going to do. A very Oakleyan sort of move, I think, that we would have to say, right? Telling somebody you're going to slap him and then ultimately slapping him. Now, the other guy who wound up getting slapped, his name is Brian, and Brian said, and I quote, I wasn't shocked because he said, I'm going to slap the bleep out of you. Right there. I want to know where Brian grew up and where Dylan grew up. Because Brian seemed to understand that when this man claimed that he was going to slap the bleep out of him, that was to be taken seriously. But Dylan, however, where he's from, where somebody tells you that it's a laughing matter. Now, I'm not saying that Malik Dime was right for slapping this dude in the face, because I've got no evidence to indicate that the people said anything that was slap-worthy. What I am here to do is perhaps help you guys out, because maybe you'll make a mistake like those cats make, or maybe your kids will decide that they want to go to school and they want to hang out in the student section and they get to just say whatever it is that they want to these cats who are playing. And I'm just letting you know something right now. If the man say he gonna slap the bleep out of you, you need to operate on the assumption that he is, in fact, going to slap the bleep out of you. Like, if you feel like you got to call the cops, I don't even blame you under those circumstances, because the man told you that is what it was that he was going to do, and he is to be believed. This is very similar to an axiom that my uncle taught me, which was, if a man threatens to shoot you, believe him and do whatever it takes to make that man not want to shoot you anymore. My uncle did not realize that one time that he was having a little tryst with this woman, and her husband, who happened to be 5'0", showed up. When that man said, you gonna walk out of here naked, and my uncle was like, whatever, I'm gonna put on my pants. That man meant when he said, you gonna walk out of here naked or I'm gonna shoot you. And my uncle tried to put on his pants. I mean, he lived, but he did get shot. Right? And I mean, it's not okay to shoot people. But you can't pretend like you didn't know the man was going to shoot you when the man told you, I am going to shoot you if you don't walk out of here naked. Right? Sometimes you just got to walk out of there naked. Although, in fairness to the Colorado students, I don't think there was anything they could do to prevent it. After the man said, I am going to slap the bleep out of you, your fate been sealed. That's it. Just don't go for the okie doke. And the okie doke is, I'm going to shake your hand. What? Actually, I'm going to slap you in the face. And your homeboy, too.
What did they honestly think, though, when he extended his hand? That they thought, hey, I guess we'll just let bygones be bygones? Like, although he said he's going to smack the bleep out of me, you know what? He seems like a nice guy.
Right. I can't lie, though, man. It's so hard for me to believe that man said that as matter-of-factly as he did. It is hard for me to believe that nobody said anything that directly led to that dude getting slapped in the face. Like, everybody's all mysterious as to why it is that this happened. I don't know about that. One of y'all knows. I feel like one of y'all knows, right? And again, even if you know, it does not mean the dude wasn't wrong for slapping you in the face. I just don't feel like this story adds up. I mean, I've seen people get slapped in the face before. It is very rare that somebody gets slapped in the face for no reason at all. You might not think it was a good reason, but there normally is a reason. Maybe not a good one, but certainly a reason. But shout out to my man Brian, though. Brian knows how the game goes. Brian was not surprised that he got slapped. Why? Because he told him he was going to slap him. That was that. Didn't even punch him. Just the disrespect of the open hand slap. Whew. I think a mush would have been more disrespectful. The finger mush.
He couldn't have mushed both of them at the same time. He got two birds with one stone.
That's a good point.
Like, what was Brian doing? Standing waiting for his turn? Malik, I'm next. I got next, Malik. What was he doing?
That is a good point. No, Brian, I mean, here's the thing, though. Where I'm confused about Brian. Since Brian knew the slapping was coming, I don't understand how Brian wasn't making room. Instead, Brian got his face close enough to the other dude who's getting slapped. Nah. If you say you're going to slap somebody, man, try to get your face out the way.
Also, if Malik said this loud enough for both guys to hear, I'm sure someone else around him heard it, right?
And they're like, haha, that's funny. He says he's going to slap us. Nah, bro, he said he's going to slap you. Like, that's like I say, right or wrong, I'm about not getting slapped, right? Like, you tell me that, hey, I got to do thing X or I'm going to get slapped, dude, I'll leave, right? Like, oh, you're going to make me leave. Nah. I'll go ahead and leave. I just feel like these are the sort of games that I need to be participating in. Also, Malik Dime, be careful. Them dudes in the student section, their daddy's got lawyers, and they will sue you even if you ain't got no money. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, Magic Johnson says he wants the freedom to call the shots with the Lakers. Pardon me, I had to laugh at that.
Kawhi Leonard, right side three, knocks down the triple. Quietly, the San Antonio Spurs have the second best record in the NBA and sit within striking distance of the Warriors.
Kawhi Leonard, it just seems he can do everything. He is a two-way player extraordinaire.
This Sunday, they head to Madison Square Garden to face the Knicks. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern on ABC and on ESPN Radio.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Oh, so something interesting happened on Twitter yesterday. Chuck Modiano, he doesn't work for the New York Daily News. He wrote this column, and he says that basically Chris Long should join, I think it was Devin McCourty, who had said it at the time, and Martellus Bennett, who said that they were not going to go to the White House with the Patriots. And Chris Long then replied to him and told him, you don't have to tell me to do anything. I hadn't planned on going to the White House, and I've been thinking about this, myself for a while. I can vouch for you. I know that he's been thinking about this before. Like, a columnist wasn't going to force him to make this sort of decision, though. Man, the Patriots got themselves in an interesting one, right? Because remember, we kind of had like a matter of curiosity about like the NBA teams and whether those guys would come. But see, we asked that particularly with the NBA guys because they're black, right? Like, even if you voted for Trump, you understand how and why it is that a black person might not want to be around Trump, right? I'm not saying whether or not it should be good. You know what I'm saying here. You would understand if a black person decided, you know what, this is not something that I want to do. You would get it, right? The white dudes, it gets a little trickier, and that's why Chris Long is a big thing for a lot of people. Like that dude with the long hair and the tattoos, and the dad who played in the league or whatever. He said that he himself is not going to go to the White House. I imagine you'll hear more from him on that matter. But see, everybody's getting all serious about this, right? Not me. I'm here for the jokes, right? Because the truth is, for me, go to the White House, don't go to the White House. I'm not tripping one way or another. And the reason I'm not really tripping is, I get it if you decide that you want to go. I get it if you decide that you want to go, even if you vehemently disagree with Donald Trump and his policies, right? If you decide that's what you want to do, I'm not really going to be the one that's got any sort of beef with you and say that you're doing something wrong. I'm not there. If you decide that you want to go to the White House, hey, man, this is a big deal. You worked your whole life to win the Super Bowl. And one thing that comes with winning a Super Bowl is going to the White House, right? Like, and there's people who have dreamed of that the whole way. And there's going to be some guys that are going to be like, I'm not even going to let Donald Trump take my trip to the White House away from me. So I'm not going to be the one that has any problem or leans on anybody and says, you can't do this or you have to do this. Nah, I'm never going to be, I'm just not, I just don't have plans to be that guy on this matter, because I think that you can decide that you're not going to go to the White House and still after that wind up doing some other stuff that kind of wipes out the fact that you went there that you didn't go there in the first place, right? That being said, Shannon, how many Patriots we got so far that are not going? 6?
Yeah, we have 6 Patriots who aren't going right now.
All right, so we got Long, Devin McCourty, Dante Hightower, Alan Branch, LeGarrette Blount, and Martellus Bennett. Yes. First of all, how many of those guys are guaranteed to be Patriots next year? I'm going with Hightower and what's his name? McCourty. Those are the only ones I'm sure are going to be there. Not because of the anthem, but because they're the Patriots. Right? Like, I'm pretty sure Tom Brady will be there next year, but you can never know with the Patriots, right? So those 5 guys have decided that they are not going to the White House. And so that's what, 4 defensive players, 1 offensive player. That's what we got on this list.
Looking at the Patriot free agent.
2 offensive players. Yeah, go ahead.
Hightower's free agent. Bennett, Blunt, Branch, all free agents.
Oh, really? They are all free agents. Oh, okay. Got it. Here's what I want to know, though. Which one of them is going to be the one that's calling up their teammates?
So you going to the White House? Yeah, man. I was thinking about. Oh. Okay, cool. I mean, I figured you would.
That's the worst.
That's the worst right there. Yeah, you seem like the type that would do that. Well, what you trying to say? What you trying to say?
I wish I was surprised.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you know what? I mean, I guess that's how you was raised, right? So I'm just saying, like, why you trying to play me like that, man? I just want to go to the White House. You know what I'm saying? My family from D.C. I just want to. No, it's cool. I see.
Exactly, it's cool. The it's cool is coming back, regardless of how you feel. The it's cool is the rebuttal.
Look, I just want to let you know, man. I don't think no less of you for this. No, I don't think no less of you for this. You got it. You all right. You all right.
No, we're good. We're straight.
You all right. You all right. Yeah. You all right. I tell you, the five, and it's real about this, because let's be honest about it. If a white dude goes but doesn't go, I don't think anybody's really tripping one way or another. Like, it's not going to wind up being that big of a thing. Like, if a white dude doesn't go, he can even play it off like it wasn't a social statement, because people don't really expect white folks to make social statements about these things, right? What was Tom Brady saying when he went to go see Obama? When he had family plans? Right? Like, they can all just play, hey, man, we got family plans, whatever. But every black dude, either you could go or you don't go. I'm just telling you right now, whichever one you do, you better have an answer. Whichever one you decide, you better have an answer. If you don't go, you need to have an answer for the masses. If you do go, you need to have an answer for your partners.
Dante Hightower had a built-in reason. Not excuse. He had a reason when I asked why he wasn't going. I was just there 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's like, I got to do this again. Like, Garrett Blunt was just like, nah, I don't feel welcome. Period.
McCourty said the same thing. He said, I don't feel welcome.
What if the Garrett Blunt was like, man, I was going to go, but then they say I can't bring my sack with me because it's federal property. Because, D.C., they decrimmed or whatever it was, but you can't bring it to the White House. Like, that is a step over the line, even for our friend Method Man. You can't take it that far. But no, them cats, like I say, you got to have the masses. Well, I wanted to show respect for the office and celebrate or whatever. The barbershop? Oh, word, I saw you at the White House, bro. Oh, you walk in the barbershop. Yo, man, need a haircut. Oh, where what you got going? We're going to the White House next week. Damn, man. My clippers just stopped working.
Oh, but that's when the lonely barber jumps up like, yo, man, trying to get a cut?
The Garrett Blunt like, nah, I'll give myself an edge up. Thank you very much. I will give myself an edge up. Now on the other end, let's ask this. How heated do you think Donald Trump would be if Tom Brady said he had family plans again? How heated do you think he would be? What you got, Shannon? What you got? Well, what would the tweets be? Would the tweets be how furious he was, or would the tweets be excuses about how Tom Brady was busy?
I wonder how it would go if Brady doesn't let him know in advance, and then Brady just doesn't show up, and like Trump's at the front steps of the White House looking at every bus, like, okay, he's coming off, and he just doesn't show up.
Or how about this one? Brady does show up, and the next thing you know, you get a tweet about how Brady showed up, but he didn't show up for the last guy. Oh, which Tom Brady would be like, dog, you got to chill, man. You stay dragging my name into this, bro. You have got to chill.
The thing is, I don't put it past him, though.
At all. Like, all of these things are entirely possible. But this is going to be the most interesting one. Like, of all of these, this is perhaps going to be the most interesting one. Because I just want to see who comes, who doesn't, and what role peer pressure plays in this. Like, is Bob Kraft going to send out an email to be like, we'd really like you guys to come? Because how embarrassing would it be if only 20 cats showed up?
Also, and the Patriots have talked about this as well, that they usually leave the outside stuff outside and stick to football when it's in the locker room.
Yep.
How's that going to change when you mention peer pressure and those kind of
Can't do it for so long. Here's what I would pay to hear. I guess there's no chance for it now, but how much would you pay to hear a conversation between Martellus Bennett and Rob Gronkowski about whether or not Gronk should go to the White House? How much would you pay to hear that?
I would love that.
All of it. Like, that is what I want to hear. Let's get those two together to talk about it. Or perhaps we can have them in some sort of debate about whether or not you should go to the White House. That is what I want. See, I told you guys, y'all thought it was going to be all serious in politics, but in reality, all we got is these jokes. Unless some of these cats decide to go to the White House, then it ain't going to be no jokes for them. It ain't going to be no jokes at all. Let me tell you, has Cam Newton ever been happier that he wasn't in the Super Bowl than right now? Can you imagine what would happen if it was, will Cam Newton go to the White House?
Imagine that.
Trump done made so many people's lives hard that he never had thought about.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Just like our next guest, he covers the NBA for us here at ESPN. His name is Royce Young. Now, Royce, you are based in Oklahoma City. Kevin Durant is coming back for the first time on Saturday. How loud are those boos going to be?
They're going to be quite loud, I think, Bomani. I mean, I think some people nationally have maybe been a little bit too polite to Oklahoma City, maybe thinking that these nice, middle America people full of hospitality are going to welcome Kevin Durant back with anything other than booze. But the only thing they might do other than boo is come up with a clever chant or something. But there might be some scattered people in the arena that will stand politely or even cheer him, because I think most of the city actually is appreciative. Nobody's going to sit there and tell you that they don't appreciate Kevin Durant, but they don't support his decision. And Saturday night's the night for them to let him know that. They haven't had their opportunity yet.
One thing I love when you talk about that, like people have this assumption of middle America and how the folks are going to behave, as though these aren't also Oklahoma Sooners fans, right? Like they're used to having things and demanding things.
I've heard all these people though, they keep saying like, I kind of think they might cheer. Like, no, right? No. I mean, these are cutthroat sports fans here in Oklahoma, and yeah, I mean, they would. You talked about the Switzer days. These people aren't gentle. They're not that nice.
We're talking to Royce Young of ESPN. No, I think so much of this though is interesting. I think you probably saw the Anthony Slater piece today in the San Jose Mercury News, just talking about how this tied into the history of Oklahoma. Like not just with Kevin Durant leaving, but like the identity of Oklahoma. It's you as an Oklahoman. Can you kind of give people a little bit of a description of just kind of how this ties in?
Yeah, here's the thing, and Slater actually nailed it, I thought, with the line that he had in the story, that this isn't just a player leaving a city. He put it as, this is the Liberty Bell leaving Philadelphia. I mean, Kevin Durant was an icon in this state. And, with the way the team relocated from Seattle to Oklahoma City, with, everything that went with that, with, the fact that, if we're being honest here, I've lived in Oklahoma my whole life. It's got a little man syndrome. It's insecure about who it is. Everybody here understands the small market stereotypes and everything. Tumbleweed rolling down the road, and I bet everybody goes around and covered wagons. Do they even have internet there? And then Kevin Durant comes to town, and he becomes a global icon, a true ambassador for the state of Oklahoma. There's people in Oklahoma that I know of that were so proud of the fact when they would just see like somebody like watching a Premier League soccer game, and somebody was wearing like a Durant jersey one time, and people are proud of that in Oklahoma because he meant something bigger than just basketball in this state. So this is like somebody getting up and leaving that really means something to your identity. And I think that's what it is. It's not just that the team is not as good anymore. Kevin Durant kind of stood for something in Oklahoma City, and when he left, it felt like a piece of the state left too.
It's interesting when you say that because my mother's from Oklahoma City, but she hadn't lived there in 50 years, and she roots for the Thunder like nobody's business because it means something. Like, I'm from Houston. The Texans came after I left. I don't care, right? But, it's not as a defining thing as it is in that same way. We're talking to Royce Young of ESPN. Now, on the other end of this, of course, is Russell Westbrook. How much more the man has he become since there is no Kevin Durant, and he's juxtaposed against him because of loyalty?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's Westbrook's town now, and that's something I've kind of now wondered, in hindsight being what it is, Bomani. I mean, you can sit here and you can say maybe it kind of always was Russell Westbrook's town, but when you think about Oklahoma and kind of the identity that it has, like Durant in some ways was always too good for Oklahoma City. I mean, he was the guy predestined to be a superstar. The college All-American, won National College Player of the Year as a freshman at Texas. He went to Texas, first of all, which is really not a fit in Oklahoma. We're talking about the Sooners here. And, in some ways, Durant identified a lot with Oklahoma because of his humility and all that, stuff. And he was kind of like, the aw shucks guy that you could take home to mama, and like Kevin Durant, he wore his backpack. But in reality, like Westbrook kind of, I think, maybe identifies a little bit more because if you look at the history of Oklahoma, and that's something Slater touched on too, it's up and down. I mean, it's a roller coaster of like, the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, and then the oil boom, and then the oil bust. And then, it's kind of like a game Russell Westbrook's playing. And I think that he kind of maybe embodies the spirit of Oklahoma a little bit more, the hard work, the determination, the underdog mentality, maybe more than Durant does. So, as you kind of look back on it, I think, with him signing that extension, with him doing what he's doing this year, up until this week, Bomani, nobody's really talked about Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City. The two words they kept saying is triple-double, because it's all about Russell Westbrook. And so I think that kind of spirit, everybody's kind of rallied around him.
All right, talking to Royce Young of ESPN. Now, how's the city receiving the actual team itself? Because Russ has been great individually, but the team hasn't been good as people are accustomed to.
Yeah, it's an adjustment. And I think that's one thing that Thunder fans, nobody really wants to admit it around here, but this team, they've been exceptionally spoiled. I mean, they can act like they supported a bad team, but that bad team that they supported was the first season in Oklahoma City when they won 23 games, started 3-29 that year. But that was the first year, and everybody was filling up that arena to go see Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, everybody else, and LeBron James, and the visiting teams. It wasn't necessarily about that young Thunder team on the floor. And then, boom, they explode, and they win 50 games and go to the playoffs. And then it was the gravy train from that point on. And you're supporting not only a winning team, but you're supporting a young, exciting team that's fun to go watch. So I think that people in Oklahoma City and Thunder fans in general have had to kind of adjust themselves to okay, this is what it's like to be in the middle class of the NBA. We're no longer elite. We're no longer thinking that we can contend for an NBA championship, and it's a little bit difficult to kind of come to grips with that, I think.
Now, what kind of job do you think Billy Donovan's done with the team this year?
I think he's done an underrated job. Honestly, Bill Money, I don't feel like he's got quite enough credit. Because, let's look at the history of players of Durant's caliber leaving a team. Obviously the Thunder are in a better position than most because they already have Russell Westbrook, which speaks to, how good this team already was, that they were able to kind of absorb and endure a loss of Durant's magnitude, still be in the middle of the playoff race in the Western Conference. But Billy Donovan has kind of restructured and redesigned the team to fit around Westbrook's strengths. Now, for better or for worse, some people could point at it and say, okay, it's too much Westbrook. It's, you're too reliant on him. You need to develop some of those other guys. But, Westbrook himself, he's not an easy player to coach. And I think that Billy Donovan, his job right now is to not only kind of put a roster on the floor that can produce around Westbrook, but develop the young guys on the team so that, when Russell Westbrook's a free agent in 2 years or whatever he decides to do, if he maybe re-extends or whatever, but he's going to look at this young roster and say, these guys are still pretty good. I want to stay here.
All right, we're talking to Royce Young of ESPN. Do the Thunder have anything planned for Kevin Durant?
They do not. I mean, well, it depends on what you mean by plan. What they have planned for Durant is the same thing that they did for every other visiting player, and that kind of speaks to the Thunder, quote unquote culture and identity that they have. That they're going to do the exact same thing for Durant that they did for when Kendrick Perkins came back, for when Jeff Green came back, James Harden, even down to Jeremy Lamb, B.J. Augustine, Cole Aldridge. And so when Durant hears his name or is introduced in starting lineup, they're going to say, please welcome back to Oklahoma City, Kevin Durant. And that'll be it. There won't be a tribute video. And I think that if you look at it from the Thunder's perspective, we all know that there's a clear tension between Westbrook and Durant. And the Thunder don't want to disrespect Russell Westbrook. I mean, if you roll a tribute video up there for Durant, but he again, deserves to be appreciated and celebrated for his time in Oklahoma City, but how is Russell Westbrook going to respond to that? How are the guys on the team going to respond to that? And also, how awkward would it be for you to roll a tribute video for a guy and you can't even hear the words on it because the entire arena is drowning it out with booze? So, I mean, I think the Thunder are kind of making a diplomatic decision here to just not do it.
It's an interesting juxtaposition because I was talking about when LeBron came back to Miami, and of course LeBron was only here for 4 years, but through gritted teeth, they did the video tribute, and LeBron got the standing ovation, and he waved. But I guess it's a less personal relationship, and as I said before, Miami is a city that understands relationships of convenience. It's a little too heartfelt for Oklahoma City, I guess, for him to take it there.
Exactly, and like I said, you're going to set a tone. And it's not that the Thunder haven't been classy about this. You look at everything Sam Presti said, there hasn't been one negative public word said about Durant from anybody with the Thunder. The front office, the coaching staff, anybody like that. They're just trying to look at it as look, how is this going to be received? And they're not going to sit back and they're not going to try to act like Cole Aldridge and Kevin Durant are on the same playing field here. Okay, they're not saying that. They're just more looking at it in the sense of what are the people in our own building going to feel if we roll that tribute video? They were hurt. I mean, they were personally hurt by Durant leaving, and especially now their new leader of the franchise at the forefront of that. And so they don't want to risk that, and they're willing to take maybe the backlash from the general public or the national media or whoever for not doing it.
All right, Royce Young, check him out. Covers the NBA for us here at ESPN. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
You bet, Bomani.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back Monday for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Kevin Durant makes his first trip to Oklahoma City as a Warrior. Westbrook ascends like a rocket to the top. Don't miss the fireworks this Saturday night in OKC, 7:30 Eastern on ABC and on ESPN Radio.